Great. So today I'm very excited to join you in Platzi Live, and we have a special guest coming from United States, Jonathan. Jonathan, are you with us?
Yep, I'm here. Nice to see you guys.
Great. So Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us in Platzi Live today. You are the founder of Founder Institute. Can you maybe tell us a bit more about what is Founder Institute?
Sure. So I'm the co-founder, but co-founder of the Founder Institute. We are the world's largest pre-seed startup accelerator. So we work with startups and individual founders before they're ready for a program like Y Combinator, which I think Platzi went through, right? A Techstars or any of these other seed accelerators that we have around the world. Founder Institute works with people at those earliest stages to get them to traction and funding, which are usually the next steps. And we do this in over 185 cities around the world. We've been doing this since 2009. We are based in Palo Alto, California, in Silicon Valley, and we have since then helped create companies that have raised very close to $1 billion in funding, and it's about 4,500 companies in total.
No worries. You were explaining us that you are the co-founder of Founder Institute, which is a pre-seed accelerator that you are all around the world. So if I understand well, you are a great partner. If we have an idea and we want to start a business, a technological business to help us take the idea to the reality, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We take people that are solo founders and people that are the earliest stages to get them to the next step. Sometimes that next step is raising funding, right? Is kind of that first check. Other times it might be recruiting the team or getting the right partners or getting the technology in place. But we are just at that basic first step.
Okay, perfect. So talking about first step and idea, I would like to know how you got started in 2009, you said, and what was kind of the first MVP of Founder
Yeah,
Institute?
for sure. And you're right, it was an MVP, right? And that's usually how this stuff gets started. Now, so I think the interesting thing is back in 2008, 2009, we were in a global recession, right? So just it's a really good time to start a company when we're in times like this right now. But basically, we started a website called thefunded.com, which was a place for early stage entrepreneurs who were raising funding to share ratings and reviews about venture capitalists. At that time, venture capitalists were doing some pretty shady things, to be honest. And any entrepreneurs that would talk about or share this information, could be shunned or blacklisted, et cetera. So we created this site where people could share this information in a subpoena-free environment. And what we started to see was that so many people were joining the website, or so many people wanted to join the website, that really were just not ready to raise funding. Okay. And we didn't want the website to just become a place where people would bash investors who wouldn't fund them if they weren't ready. So we essentially saw this gap in the market. We're like, okay, a lot of these people think that the next step in their entrepreneurial journey is raising funding, but really there were like 30, 50, 100 steps in between. And that's where we started Founder Institute. And we got an unused classroom at Stanford University. We put together the first program within about a month. We got it off the ground, and right after that program happened, it was featured in TechCrunch and Udemy, for example. It's one of the largest. I think it is the largest source for online classes in the world. Came out of that first program, and we just started having people in other cities saying, "Hey, can I bring Founder Institute to my city?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure, I guess." Right? And then we started figuring that out, and it grew, from there.
Great. Yeah, I agree with you. Getting funding is not only luck games. We just worked during 2 months with our startup at Platzi in the demo day to prepare them to talk with investors and also to increase their traction, right? So it's super important, and I admire your work. You say you started in an empty room in Stanford, and now you are in over 200 countries, I think.
We're in about 200 cities now, 60 countries, every continent except for Antarctica. We're still trying that one.
Okay. Wow, impressive. And internationalization is actually one of the challenges a lot of our startup students have at Platzi. We also have a course, by the way, if you are a startup student and you join us today, about internationalization for startup. So, Jonathan, how came the question of internationalization, and did you kind of target some countries first, some region? What was the plan? Can you share some learnings about this experience you
Yeah,
had?
for sure. To be honest, it was completely based off inbound demand. Okay. So the first city that we launched in outside of Silicon Valley was San Diego. And that's only because somebody in San Diego reached out to us. Then after that, the first one in Europe, I believe, was Paris, and that's because somebody reached out to us. We actually launched in Kabul, Afghanistan, before we launched in London. Okay, so it wasn't like we were looking at a world map and saying, "Hey, we need to go dominate this market." For us, it was more about having the right people come to us that wanted to launch, and then that demand is then what drove our kind of product development, right? Because then, okay, we need to run a new program here, we'd have to build some technology, we'd have to hire some people. It was all through demand, honestly. And I think for any startup, just follow the demand, right? Because we could have made a guess. Maybe we could have said, hey, London needs our program, right? But if we don't have the right person there to run it, then it's sort of a waste of time. So we've always done it by demand.
Great. That's the best way to be able to scale if you have the demand, by the way. So if you're all around, like you also have, as you said, hubs in Latin America or program, do you have some favorite startup from Latin America that came to Founder Institute?
Yeah, sure. So I think you may be in Bogota, right? So Compara Mejor, that was a company that was acquired, I believe, it was acquired in 2019, and it raised about $5 million in funding, and that's financial comparison website. There's also Go Place It, which is basically a real estate marketplace based down in from our Santiago, Chile chapter that raised a bunch of money, and Pollen out of Brazil. I think this is a really cool company. You can check it out at brpollen.com.br. That's a company that is essentially creating a marketplace for waste, right? So it's a company that's trying to do good in the world, and that's awesome. And we have, I believe we have about 20 chapters now across Latin America, and we are enrolling in programs, many programs across Brazil and in Mexico right now, and you can see those at fa.co/global.
Excellent. We will come soon about the question where a student can find you and contact you. But before, I would like to discuss one topic that you mentioned, which is crisis or crisis time. This year with the pandemic was very special and very hard for most of the founders. And in this section, we usually talk about the importance of experimenting, right? Experimentar para ganhar. And when I was reading some of your posts, you talk about that, about experimenting, about iterating in time of crisis. Why do you think crises are a good time to experiment and to try new plans?
Oh, it's a great time. Okay. And this is what Founder Institute was created in 2009. We actually were, our founding date was April 2009, which if you look at the market is literally right at the bottom, right? And the reason for that is because these are the times when all the big companies are sort of reorganizing, shuffling things around, and where consumer needs are changing very, very fast. Okay, things that you want right now, 6 months ago, before COVID really started becoming this really big issue around the globe, you don't have the same problems now that you'd had back then, right? And the big companies can't iterate fast enough. They just can't. They're not set up for that. They are big lumbering machines that optimize very complex processes, where a startup or any kind of small company, literally one of the only advantages that you have is that you can be nimble and you can test things very, very quickly. And when consumer needs are changing really, really fast as they are now, that literally is the perfect time for a startup to be successful, right? It sort of seems a little bit counterintuitive, but it's like all of the things are aligning for small companies to act quickly, because the big companies are not set up to do it, right? They're set up to operate in a very stable environment, whereas a small company can just try anything they want. So when the ground is shaking like a big earthquake, like which sort of 2020 has felt like, it's a great environment for companies that are nimble and that can iterate and test quickly to be successful.
Great, indeed. So beyond the pandemic, beyond the crisis, there are opportunities. So if you want to start your business, or if you have a business at Platzi, at Fund Institute, we love startup. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. We would love to do that together with you all around Latin America, Spain, and get into this journey that is super hard, as Freddie always said, but it's a crazy adventure. And talking about journey, about future, what are your take? What are the future trends that entrepreneurs should pay a special attention?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. So at least something that we're seeing in a lot of our portfolio companies is these startup SaaS companies, right? Software as a service companies that would try to service kind of your mom and pop or main street stores, or SMBs, the small, medium-sized businesses. These have traditionally been companies when they've come through FI, we've told them like, look, that's, 999 out of 1,000 of these companies will fail, right? But now, because of COVID and because of this just massive move towards virtual, a lot of those companies are now starting to be successful. So solving problems, just think about what COVID has done for a lot of people is moved a lot of businesses and individuals online, doing things that they normally wouldn't do online, right? It has accelerated this move to virtual by probably a decade. So there's a lot of opportunities there for people that want to do that kind of stuff. But another thing that I want to mention too, and this applies not just to new companies, but also established companies and branding and things like that. The world is extremely divided right now, right? Me coming from the US, I mean, it's ridiculous over here. The need for brands and products to be better aligned with the values that people have is becoming more and more apparent. Everything is divided now, right? And consumers, especially millennials, are very much showing that they essentially vote, so to speak, for the views that they believe in and the products that they like, because those companies that build those products share the same values that they do, right? It's like every consumer decision in the next decade or so is going to be like a vote. I vote for this. I vote for that. I vote for this. The big companies are starting to see this. I don't know if you've seen what Patagonia did recently, right? Where they put vote the a-holes out. They put that on the tags of their shirts. And there's a lot of big companies that are using these kinds of things for branding purposes, right? And as a big company, that's fine for branding. As a small company, as a startup, these are the kinds of things that you can bake into the very fabric, the very foundation of your business. So, I think anyone here is on Instagram. Are you tired of seeing another ad for like a sock company or the perfect pair of shorts? Or, like it's just, there's so many companies out there that really just are sort of not doing anything important. And I think consumers are starting to get tired of those types of things. And they're going to be looking at products that are impactful and also brands that are impactful and that are trying to do the right thing in the world. And I think, I'm a marketer. So for me, that's going to be one of the biggest things that I'm expecting to see in about the next year or 2 years. And I think that's going to be here to stay. I think companies and the way that we buy products and which products we buy are essentially, it's almost going to be like voting, right? It's like, look, this is what I believe in. This aligns with my beliefs in this world. And that's going to be a really important thing. And again, startups are in a unique position to bake that into the fabric of their company rather than just being a big company where it's just kind of a marketing campaign.
Yeah, startup can really shape our future in the positive way. Hopefully, as you mentioned, I like this message of how, as an entrepreneur, you can generate an impact. You can run a company with conscience and respect, and that's the message of today. Again, if you are following us today and you have a startup or you want to start a business, I hope to see you all in the curso Taller de Creación de Startup of Platzi, all around in our different activities, also with Founder Institute. So, Jonathan, where can our startup student or wannabe entrepreneur find more about you and about Founder Institute?
Sure. Yeah. Our website's fi.co. And also you can go to fi.co/global to see a map of all of our enrolling programs. We have about 80 enrolling programs right now around the world. But I also just want to say, Julianne, Platzi is a really great platform. So I really believe in what you guys are doing, and I think your product is awesome. And for a lot of people, if you're just watching this and Platzi, this is like the first thing you're watching or whatever, you really should dig into the things that they're doing, because it's super unique and super valuable stuff.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. And as you said, we are so divided now because of the situation, that together stronger. So I'm looking forward to continue collaborate with you and with Founder Institute to help more entrepreneurs to generate this impact that we mentioned. So thanks for joining today. See you soon and have a great day.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, muchas gracias por haber visto este video en YouTube, aunque te tengo buenas noticias. Hay cosas todavía más importantes sucediendo dentro de Platzi Live. Sucede todas las semanas, todos los jueves en vivo, pero no solo eso. Platzi tiene un montón de contenidos, cursos, clases, tutoriales y un montón de información que puede ser súper útil para ti. Ve a platzi.com/agenda y sigue el próximo streaming en vivo.